guys, welcome to Bastian time. This is Games Like Zelda. We haven't had one of these episodes in a very long time, so I thought it's probably finally time to go ahead and do another one of these. The actual kind of amusing thing is that this will be the third time that I have recorded a video about this game. What happened is, months ago, like at least 2 months ago, I recorded a video about this, and it had horrendous sound issues. So I couldn't release it. So then I re-recorded it a couple weeks later, and never quite got around to editing it, and then I just recently deleted a whole bunch of old, unedited files, and that was one of them. So I got to record a brand new one. The other funny thing is, I had recorded the first video right after I beat the game, so it was very fresh in my memory, and I had a lot of opinions, and I'm just hoping that I can still remember this game very well. But it's this game, Neutopia, and is possibly the most well-known Zelda clone. The game that they tried their darndest to copy Zelda as much as possible. I mean, when you play it, it's hard to kind of tell just from the videos, but when you play it, it just feels like a Zelda game. You walk to the edge, specifically, I need to state, Zelda 1 style. You walk to the edge of a screen, and then instead of it all scrolling along with you, it's just a rigid square, and so you walk to the edge of that screen and go off it, and then the whole screen scrolls over, and then you come in at the other side. Which is very much like Zelda 1. So the entire overworld, for instance, is divided up into these little square pieces. And you use bombs to blow holes in walls to find secrets, and usually these holes, you wouldn't even guess that there would there's no indication that there's anything there for you to bomb. You push blocks and rocks, and underneath there's staircases, and you go down, and there's some sort of citizen who gives you money or gives you the secret. It's Zelda. Zelda designed by a completely different team. The basic story is also very similar. There's a princess who's been captured, and the only way to rescue her is to collect these 8, I think they're orbs, or medallions. I think orbs. These 8 orbs, and then once you've collected all of these 8 orbs, it opens up the lair of the final boss. That's Zelda 1, for goodness sake. So, you use a sword, of course, to attack your enemies. What's a little bit different from Zelda is that you also can use magic. Your fireball power kind of levels up the more that you progress through the game, so that's pretty cool. You can at first just send out a little fireball, and then towards the end of the game, it's like this huge fire explosion. That's very different from Zelda. I mean, sure, in Zelda 1 you had the magic rod, and if you had the magic book, then you could shoot out fireballs constantly, but I mean, that's where they got their idea, obviously, but in effect, it works a little bit better. Some more specific ways in which Neutopia is very similar to the original Legend of Zelda are the enemies. There are these goblin things that throw spears, and that just instantly reminds you of moblins from the first Zelda. There are these creatures that appear in water that spit these fireball things at you, and that's clearly their version of a Zora. It's just, there are enemies that come up popping out of the ground, and those are extremely, obviously, their attempt at levers. So it's so extremely, it's like Zelda in an alternate dimension. Even the entrances to the dungeons, for instance, just look very similar to something that you would see in a Zelda 1 game, or like a remake or sequel to Zelda 1. You go down the stairs, and then you're in an underground labyrinth, and they even call them labyrinths, just like they're called in Zelda 1. You do have a compass, but it does act a little bit differently in Neutopia than in Zelda. In Zelda, you'll remember, when you collect a compass, it will show you in a dungeon. There's one compass per dungeon, and that compass will point to wherever the Triforce piece is. In Neutopia, you use the compass on the overworld, and it will help show you where the entrance to the next dungeon is, which is pretty darn helpful, especially because the overworld is kind of usually designed like a maze, so it's very difficult sometimes to find the entrances to these dungeons. Even when following the compass, you'll have to realize that you can't follow it just to the left because you're blocked off, so you'll have to find out how to circumvent it. Now, some specifics about this game are that it was designed for the TurboGrafx-16, and so that was a 16-bit platform like the Super Nintendo, and so it does have much better graphics, for instance, than Zelda 1, but nowhere near as good graphics, I think, than A Link to the Past. And the music is also kind of strange, because it doesn't quite sound 16-bit. I think there's something unusual about the TurboGrafx-16 that I don't understand because it's very technical, but something about how the music wasn't actually 16-bit. The music was 2 sets of 8 bits, which do not add up to 16-bit somehow. And so anyways, it doesn't sound quite as nice as a Super Nintendo game, for instance. Now, as far as how it compares to the original Legend of Zelda, I still think that the original Legend of Zelda reigns supreme. It does, of course, have better graphics because it was for a 16-bit system, and the thing about those graphics, too, is it's not just that they're 16-bit, so that makes them better, but also the overworld is a lot more varied. You gain access to 4 different overworlds, basically, and each one is kind of like a different element. There's like a grassy area in one, there's a place that's totally up in the sky, and there's a molten lava and rocky one, and so on. There's a desert one. So it's kind of, I feel like, a bit more variety than the original Legend of Zelda. But I really still feel like the original Legend of Zelda is better. Some unfortunate things about Neutopia is that its saving system involves long passwords that you have to write down. And even the original Legend of Zelda moved beyond the whole long password thing and lets you, have an actual save file. So I can't even imagine why they thought that this was a decent idea. And also, the combat is not quite as good. For people familiar with the term hit collision, it's just basically when the game knows that you have attacked an enemy, like how they program where you can score a hit on that enemy when you're attacking them, it just feels a little off in Neutopia. Like, so many times when I really feel like I should have connected with the enemy, I didn't, or when I didn't feel like the enemy should have hit me, it did. So the original Legend of Zelda is still key, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing it. It really felt like I was playing a third quest of The Legend of Zelda. And there is a sequel called Neutopia 2. My understanding is the sequel is extremely similar to the first Neutopia game, so I didn't get around to playing Neutopia 2 yet because I wanted to try out some other Zelda-like games. So if you're interested in Zelda 1 style games, definitely go ahead and give this a shot. If you're not, maybe it's not for you.
So what you can actually do now is play it on Nintendo's Wii Virtual Console. Not only did Nintendo not sue them for basically ripping off the original Legend of Zelda, but they've now made it available for you to play as a Nintendo fan.
As far as what the next episode of Games Like Zelda is going to be about, I'm not exactly sure. I've been playing a few games to sort of see what it is that I want to talk about. I might not do it on any of those games that I've been currently playing. I might do it on a different game that I played back in the past that I only just now realized, holy crap, that game is so much like Zelda, even though nobody would really assume it would be. So we'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, that's it for this week. See you next week, guys. Bye.